A lot of talk about the Dolphins in recent weeks for a variety of reasons. They acquired Tyreek Hill. We've talked extensively about how they could have acquired Tom Brady, how close that was to happening, at least as a member of the front office and minority owner. Still could happen in the future. Some new names in, some old names out, and the draft where they will, with 4 picks this year, thanks to the Tyreek Hill trade, they've got a 3, a 4, and 2 7s. Not a lot they can do in the draft. They can't leave the draft without addressing what, Chris?
Well, I think probably the offensive line's the position I look at more than anything. Just you look at the roster of the Dolphins, and I think we've discussed this a few times this offseason. There's not a lot of places you look to go, oh, wow, they're void, right? They're void of that position. Now, they have dressed running back a little bit here in free agency as far as getting Chase Edmonds there. Raheem Mostert came there from the 49ers as well. They could probably use another running back to add them to the overall package there. It's such an important position for that Shanahan-McDaniel offense. But I think offensive line is the one area I look at to go, no, it's probably they need, to really address that. And then after that, maybe middle linebacker or something like that. But I don't know, Mike. That's probably the one that jumps out to me more than any is that offensive line.
I think offensive line is the key. Not that they can do much with a 3, a 4, and 2 7s, but you need to do something to keep making that unit better. You've got the weapons. You want to make it as easy as you can on Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback. So I agree with you. Offensive line is an area that they have to address with those 4 picks that they have. The Buffalo Bills, who have the 25th overall pick in the draft, they cannot leave draft weekend without addressing what, Chris?
Well, I would look at them more and go, okay, they first-round pass rusher last year. They're okay there. Defensive tackle, they're pretty good there. They're a team that I'm a little like O-line, I think is one area I look at to go, yeah, they could probably improve that unit there overall. But I also can get in the conversation of corner with the Buffalo Bills too. I think that would be the other one I'd look at. Specifically, again, I think against some of the higher octane offenses in the AFC and the way it's set up right now, the Bills are not great at man-to-man coverage. They don't have those type of guys. We saw that the speed of the Kansas City Chiefs receivers in that gave them issues. We've heard McDermott and company talk about their team speed a little bit, and on the defensive side of the ball especially. A wide receiver, I think they're good there. They got the Von Miller. I look at that, I think, as maybe O-line, but corner, those 2 positions. Mike, any other ones that jump out to you?
Well, I look at running back. You see, they had
too.
Duke Johnson. But remember, they wanted J.D. McKissick. They had a verbal deal with J.D. McKissick, and he backed out and stayed in Washington. Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, they just haven't gotten what they need. When you've got Josh Allen and that passing game, that should give you better opportunities to run the football.
Definitely.
I think they need a little more of that balance. There may be some of these games, they get into one of these shootouts, and maybe there's going to be moments where you want to kind of slow it down. You want to keep the other offense off the field for a little bit. Give your defense a little bit of a rest. You don't always want to get in this ping-pong match that's just rapid fire back and forth. And if you can slip out of your highest possible gear and control the clock a little bit against a Chiefs team, maybe that will help you.
Yeah.
End up scoring more points than they do at the end of regulation or overtime, as the case may be. So I think that just the mere fact they tried to get McKissick and failed, they have to at least be thinking, not with the 25th pick necessarily, but
just to add to their
they're
team
not
overall.
happy with their current stable of running backs, so they wouldn't have tried to get J.D. McKissick.
Right.
I guess that's my point.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there. They needed another guy, too, for if Devin Singletary gets hurt, we need another guy that can run that part of our offense. So I think that's where they like Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson, he's got some talent. There's no question. But I think you're right, too. It's a need. It's not going to – I doubt it happens at 25 like you're talking about. But it is something because Zach Moss has not exactly been dependable for them to where you'd like to see them have another influence or something of that true between the tackles type runner there. But, yeah, for the Bills, as good as they are, there's a few holes that pop up when you think about them.
New England Patriots, 21st overall pick in the draft. They can't leave this upcoming draft weekend without addressing what, Chris?
I think there's two positions I come to with them. More receiver, one. That's the first thing. Again, I like the receiving core they have. I'd love to see them get a guy that's a real difference maker, though. Like a guy that we've talked about earlier in the show that scares a defense, that actually makes them have to play defenses they don't want to play to open up other things. Make life a little easier on Mac Jones to where it opens the field up and you guys don't always have to jam in 8 and 10 yard completions all the time. I think it's that. I also look at like the middle linebacker position as maybe being something they could address. Dante Hightower, it's getting up there in age there. So that's another area I look at, very important to that defense overall. But I feel like speed wide receiver, and I'm not sure if that's going to happen at 21st overall, but maybe in the second, because there's a million receivers in this draft, that they need somebody like that that's a little bit of a game breaker.
I think they definitely need to address the cornerback position. I remember a year ago, we just assumed between Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson, one would stay.
Yeah.
Both are gone. Both are gone. And maybe it's a testament to the defense, but still, you need guys. To the extent that they have a hard time drafting and developing receivers, they apparently do a good job of drafting or signing as undrafted free agents, cornerbacks, and developing them. That needs to be replenished, don't you think? With both those guys gone, they're starters from week 1 last year. Well, Gilmore he would have been a starter, but he was injured. But their top 2 corners going into last season are now gone. You got to address that somehow.
I would think so. And again, there's a lot of good corners to be had in this draft as well. I think the thing that the only reason I didn't throw that out there, because Mike, you're right in the thought of needing that, is I am a little bit of like just connecting dots, going, I wonder if they're changing their philosophy a little bit about how they feel in the corner position. I do wonder that. Last year, I thought they played more zone in New England than I can remember in quite some time. And it made me start thinking, well, maybe they're like, changing their thought and how they want to play. They have a ton of DBs, and they seem to be doing it a little bit more with, a mixing and matching of personnel and how we want to play it that way. So I do wonder where they're going. But yes, like normal history would tell you that, to your point, they would want that guy that can be a lockdown corner at one spot, and then they can do some crazy stuff on the other side of the field.
And they're in a spot where we're not used to the Patriots being. I mean, depending upon how the first 20 selections go, they could have an opportunity to trade out of 21. It just depends on who's left. Once the first 20 picks are gone, who's there at 21? And is there a team that really loves the guy who didn't get picked in the first 20 selections, who would be willing to make a jump up, and the Patriots get more lottery tickets, more opportunities to find guys that maybe fit their system, fit their approach, who aren't highly coveted? I wouldn't be surprised. For every team that wants to move up, a team's got to move down. And we got 8 teams that have no first-round pick. We've got 8 teams that have multiple first-round picks. That, to me, the 20s, the early 20s, could be a spot where somebody who's not in the first round, who has a guy they really love, could try to jump back in. And I would see the Patriots more than willing to do it, Chris.
I could too. There's no question. They're always that team that, again, if the how their board doesn't match up with the value of the pick at 21, they'll trade down in a heartbeat. They were the masters of that for a long, long time and accumulating those second and third and fourth round picks there. So it'll be interesting. But to your point, I think there'll be some good corners there to be had. I don't know if they're looking at offensive line at all. It's something I question too. That's the hardest thing about a guy in my position is I don't have a feel always for the guys that are coming up the ranks, the backups, right? How do they feel about them? That's one position where, hey, the 5th round, you go, they drafted a 5th rounder 2 years ago. I don't know how good he can be, but they've seen him practice and do all that, and they go, whoa, the guy's good. He's getting better and better. He's going to be a starter. That's the one thing that's hard to figure out as an evaluator of the draft and all that. But 21, not a bad spot in this draft. There's a lot of depth in this draft at certain positions, and whether they trade out or decide to stay there should be a player to address some of their needs for sure.
The New York Jets are in great spot. They have the 4th pick. They have the 10th pick as the final installment of the Jamal Adams trade. They also have the 35th and the 38th. They've got 2 picks in round 4, 2 picks in round 5. Now, some of those picks may get traded away for a game-breaking receiver before they're actually used, but the Jets can't leave the draft without addressing what, Chris?
I think the edge, the pass rusher. This is Robert Saleh. He's a defensive coordinator. He got to the Super Bowl because he had an unbelievable defensive line and the ability to rush 4 and get to every quarterback in football for the most part, even Patrick Mahomes for the whole game except for the last 4.5 minutes. So that's where I look at it. Carl Lawson, a guy they paid a lot of money to, had an injury last year. So how much can you depend on him being a superstar takeover type of guy? I got to think that with one of those first-round picks they got there, right? And what did you say? It was 4 and 10, right?
4 and 10.
Right. Man, Mike, pass rushers, there's 4 that I think are worthy of being top 10, top 12, top 15 picks. I really do. So they should be able to get a guy that can come off the edge and get after the quarterback.
Yeah, look, they need to come out of the weekend with a receiver they feel really good about because it's obvious they're interested in that. And this is part of the development of Zach Wilson, the second overall pick last year. And, the other side of it, too, Joe Douglas needs to hit a home run or two, whether it's by trade or whether it's by drafting somebody who comes in and makes an impact right away, because there's still a sense this team is caught in quicksand and can't get out. Last year was not good. You had flashes, but it wasn't anything close. I remember going into last year thinking if they could just get 6 or 7 wins and lay the foundation to be competitive next year, that would be a good year for the Jets. And you look at the AFC, there's 13 contenders, and the 3 non-contenders are the Jets, Texans, and Jaguars. I don't know that the Jets can crash that party this year.
No.
They got to start doing something, though, because Woody Johnson's back. He's been back for over a year. He was gone when they hired Joe Douglas. At some point, and we've seen it. We've seen it when Woody was running the team. He'll keep the coach and fire the GM. He'll keep the GM and fire the coach. He'll fire both of them. He's trying as best he possibly can to make the team better. And if Joe Douglas isn't getting it done, then he's gone. Now, I think that they'll give him this year, but I won't be surprised if after this year, Woody Johnson said, if they're 4 and 13, 3 and 14, and we aren't seeing Zach Wilson show us signs that he's going to become a superstar, I could see them changing GM. So there's a lot riding on what they get out of these picks. And Chris, to the extent that Joe Douglas is feeling the heat, if you flip a couple of picks for a proven player, that eliminates some of the risk.
Sure. That
you're going to draft somebody who doesn't come in and get it done for you.
No question. We talk about that a lot. The proven commodity certainly has a lot of great value there. The Jets, you're saying things right. I mean, we never know in the NFL the way the things are. I mean, yeah, the Jets, I think you're right. There's a little bit of that perception out there. I'm one to where I'd want people to go, wait, this is what I do for a living, and I study this stuff all the time, and I really think the Jets are going in the right direction. I really do. Again, I think the thing that people need to remember about last year, too, is the Jets were one of the more injured teams in all of football last year. We talked about Carl Lawson, Marcus May, LaMarcus Joyner, E.J. Mosley, the middle linebacker he went Jared Davis. I mean, it's Mekhi Becton. We get into that. Michael Carter Jr. He gets hurt. Elijah Moore, the second-round pick, he got hurt. They dealt with a lot of stuff there. But you're right. There needs to be that splash moment that the perception changed a little bit. Again, Laken Tomlinson, great guard, free agency this year. It's not a huge splash, but things that are going to make this team good. Elijah Vera Tucker, their first-round pick from last year, along with Zach Wilson. Man, I like that. So there's some things there to like for sure, but I don't disagree with you in the fact that there hasn't been that moment yet that seems to totally sway the tide or whatever to everybody just go, oh, wow, wait, the Jets are doing crazy things. And maybe one of these trades would appeal to the Jets fan base to back them off that a little bit.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.